If you have spent even 5 minutes scrolling through YouTube tech channels, TikTok, or Instagram Reels lately, you have definitely seen it. The endgame desk setup. The screen is massive, completely borderless, and glowing with deep, inky blacks and vibrant neon colors that look so sharp they practically scratch your retinas. And when you look closer, you realize it's not a monitor at all. It's a gorgeous 42-inch or 48-inch premium OLED TV floating majestically over a minimalist wooden desk. Every lifestyle influencer with a lo-fi playlist playing in the background is praising this setup. They tell you it's the ultimate productivity hack. They tell you it's a cheat code because a massive OLED TV is somehow cheaper than a tiny high-end desktop monitor. It looks like absolute paradise. But today, I am here to be your tech reality check. Because what those glossy, 2-minute aesthetic montages completely fail to mention is that forcing a living room television to do an office desk job is one of the most expensive, physically painful mistakes you can make. Behind that beautiful, shimmering glass canvas hides a brutal combination of chronic physical strain, catastrophic hardware failure, and a legal warranty trap that will leave you holding a $1,200 paperweight. So, grab a coffee, sit back, and let Sal explain why using an OLED TV as a monitor is a ticking time bomb for your health and your wallet. First, let's be fair. I completely understand why this trend exploded. If you look at the raw numbers on paper, it feels like an absolute no-brainer. Traditionally, if you wanted a massive, ultra-premium screen for video editing, coding, or color grading, you had to look at specialized professional monitors. Those things are small, usually 27 to 32 inches, and they cost an absolute fortune. Then, around 2020, TV manufacturers realized gamers wanted OLED tech, so they started shrinking their massive panels down to desktop-friendly sizes like 42 and 48 inches. Suddenly, for about $800 to $1,000, you could buy a screen that offered true 4K resolution, an insanely smooth 104 Hz or 144 Hz refresh rate, near instantaneous pixel response times, and an infinite contrast ratio, because OLED pixels can turn completely off to create perfect darkness. On top of that, TV marketing departments started plastering PC-centric buzzwords all over the boxes. NVIDIA G-Sync compatible, AMD FreeSync Premium, low latency game mode. To the average consumer, and honestly to a lot of influencers, the line between a TV and a monitor completely vanished. It looked like you were just getting 4 times the screen space of a standard monitor for half the price. It is the ultimate tech honeymoon phase. But as we all know, the honeymoon always ends. If you are a casual user who uses their desk for an hour a day to browse the web and play a quick game, you might survive this setup. But if you are a professional, a video editor, a software developer, a writer, or an accountant who spends 8, 10, or 12 hours a day anchored to a desk, this setup is going to actively sabotage your body. Let's start with the most immediate physical issue, the face heater effect. A standard 27-inch computer monitor is a relatively low-power device. It sips about 30 to 40 watts of electricity, meaning it runs cool. A 55-inch or even a 42-inch 4K TV, however, is an energy hog, frequently drawing between 100 and 150 watts of power. When you sit a mere 2 feet away from a display drawing that much power, that TV ceases to be just a screen and essentially becomes a radiant space heater pointed directly at your face. Over a long workday, that constant, low-level thermal output does something miserable to your eyes. When we look at screens, our natural blink rate drops by about 60% because we are focused. Now, combine a drastically reduced blink rate with a wall of radiant heat evaporating the moisture on your eyes, and you have a recipe for severe, chronic dry eye syndrome. Your eyes will sting, turn red, and feel like someone rubbed sand in them by 2 p.m. Then comes the geometric nightmare. Human ergonomics dictate that the top third of your display should be perfectly level with your eyes so your neck can remain in a neutral, relaxed position. Good luck doing that with a massive TV. Because the screen is so tall, you are forced to constantly tilt your head upward to look at your upper windows, menu bars, or notifications. This compresses the cervical discs in your neck. Furthermore, you can't take in the whole screen with just a flick of your eyes anymore. To check a timeline in the bottom left and a media bin in the top right, you have to physically pan your head left and right over and over again. It's what I call the desktop tennis match. By the end of the week, your neck, shoulders, and upper back will be completely locked up in pain. To escape the intense heat and the overwhelming brightness, your subconscious brain will try to protect you. You will instinctively try to retreat from the screen. But since your desk is only so deep, The only way to move away is to slouch heavily in your chair, leaning back at an awkward angle or sliding forward. This completely breaks your spine's alignment, removes the lower back support of your expensive office chair, and leads straight to a visit to the chiropractor. Now, let's talk about the hardware itself, because the physics of an OLED TV are actively working against the nature of computer work. To understand why these TVs fail when plugged into a PC, we have to look at the chemistry. The O in OLED stands for organic. Unlike standard LCD screens that use a separate backlight to shine through pixels, every single pixel on an OLED screen is a tiny, self-contained organic light-emitting diode. You can think of a 4K OLED TV as a matrix of 83 million microscopic organic light bulbs. Because these compounds are organic, they degrade naturally over time as electricity passes through them. The harder you drive them, the hotter they get, and the faster they decay. This brings us to the fundamental reason why TVs have much larger pixels than monitors. A 4K resolution means there are exactly 3,840 pixels horizontally and 2,160 pixels vertically, whether the screen is a small 27-inch monitor or a massive 55-inch TV. Because the TV has to stretch those same 8.3 million pixels across a massive glass canvas, the individual pixels must be manufactured to be physically much larger. To make a physically larger organic pixel illuminate a massive room and achieve the high brightness required for beautiful living room, HDR, the TV's internal computer must drive a significantly higher electrical current through that pixel. In physics, more electrical current passing through a material creates higher electrical resistance. And what does resistance create? Heat. Massive amounts of localized heat. This is where the ultra-thin design trend becomes a fatal flaw. TV manufacturers are obsessed with making OLED TVs look like a thin sheet of futuristic glass. They are paper-thin, often just a few millimeters deep at the panel. Because they are so thin, there is absolutely no physical space inside the chassis to install heavy metal heat sinks or cooling fans. They rely entirely on passive cooling through a thin backplate. When you watch a movie in your living room, the scenes are dynamic. The pixels are constantly shifting between bright explosions and dark shadows, giving them a chance to rest and cool down. But a desktop operating system is the exact opposite. It is completely static. If you are writing a document, coding, or managing a video timeline, large portions of the screen, like your Windows taskbar, your browser tabs, or your software toolbars, sit in the exact same spot, glowing at full brightness for hours at a time. Those specific pixels are forced to run at maximum current without a single millisecond of rest. The heat gets trapped inside that ultra-thin, tightly packed chassis with nowhere to go. The organic compounds literally bake in their own thermal output, accelerating their degradation exponentially. This leads directly to the dreaded ghosting phenomenon known as permanent image burn-in, where the outline of your favorite web browser is permanently etched into the glass forever. At this point, you might be thinking, "Hey Sal, it's fine. If it burns in or breaks after a year of hard work, I'll just file a warranty claim and get a replacement panel. That's what warranties are for." Oh, you sweet summer child. This is the ultimate betrayal, and it is the exact loophole that aesthetic influencers completely ignore. If you dig up the legal warranty booklets from major television manufacturers like LG, Samsung, or Sony, you will find a massive ironclad catch-22 written in tiny fine print. TV manufacturers do not classify permanent image burn-in as a manufacturing defect. Instead, they legally classify it as wear and tear or consumer misuse. The fine print explicitly states that the television is engineered strictly for normal consumer viewing conditions, meaning moving images like movies and broadcast television. The legal documents often specifically list computer desktop environments, static user interfaces, video game heads, up displays, and news channel tickers as examples of unsupported use cases. If you call up customer support because your Mac dock or Windows taskbar has burned into your $800 TV, a technician can pull up the TV's internal service menu. That menu logs exactly how many hours the TV has been turned on and the average brightness levels. If they see it has been driven as a static PC monitor for 10 hours a day, they have every legal right to deny your claim on the spot. You are entirely on your own. Compare that to the dedicated monitor market, where brands like Dell, Asus, and MSI are catering specifically to PC users. Because they know you are going to display static images, they explicitly write 3-year burn-in guarantees into their base warranties. They legally protect you for the exact desktop workloads that TV manufacturers actively run away from. So, what is a professional supposed to do if they absolutely crave that beautiful, perfect OLED contrast for their creative workflow? The answer is simple. You buy a dedicated OLED desktop monitor. OLED monitors are not magical. They use the exact same organic pixel chemistry as TVs. However, they are heavily armored to survive the desktop marathon. First, monitor manufacturers do not care about making the display look like a paper-thin sheet of wallpaper. They make the chassis significantly thicker. This extra physical volume allows them to pack the back of the panel with massive custom-engineered metal heatsinks, and in some high-performance models, ultra-quiet active cooling fans. When you open a full-screen bright white web browser, the thick heatsink immediately absorbs the localized thermal energy from those pixels and expels it out the top vents, away from your face, and away from the delicate organic compounds. Second, monitor engineers write firmware specifically for computers. They support true display power management signaling. When your PC goes to sleep, the monitor cuts power instantly, preventing unnecessary wear on the pixels. They also completely remove or tightly restrict the aggressive autostatic brightness limiter algorithms found in TVs, meaning your screen won't randomly fade to black while you are trying to read a long article or code. Finally, they leverage advanced panel architectures specifically designed to reduce stress, like quantum dot OLEDs or micro-lens arrays. These technologies use microscopic magnifying lenses or advanced layers to push bright, stunning images to your eyes while driving significantly less electrical current through the actual organic material. Less current means less heat, which translates to massive longevity. It is, without a question, the only viable choice for a professional desktop environment. Now, look. I know some of you watching this video already bought an OLED TV for your desk, or maybe you are a casual user who genuinely wants to use one on weekends for immersive console gaming and light browsing. If you fall into that camp, don't panic. You can heavily minimize the risk of hardware failure if you treat the TV with respect and change a few critical settings. First, fix the geometry. Do not put a 42-inch TV on a standard shallow office desk. You need to wall mount the TV or buy an incredibly deep desk so that your eyes are at least 4 to 5 feet away from the glass. This completely eliminates the neck strain, fits the screen into your natural field of view, and stops the radiant heat from baking your face. Second, wage war against static UI elements. Set your Windows taskbar or Mac dock to auto-hide so it disappears when you aren't using it. Turn on dark mode for every single application, operating system, and website you use. The darker the screen, the less current passes through the pixels, and the cooler the TV runs. Third, go into your TV settings menu and find the input settings. Change the input icon or label to PC mode. This forces the TV to disable its heavy internal image processing loops, which slashes your input lag and forces the TV to use uncompressed color data, making text look much sharper so your eyes don't have to squint. Finally, set it aggressive black screensaver to turn on after just 2 minutes of inactivity, and lower your base OLED light, or brightness setting down to around 50% for standard office work. Save the 100% maximum brightness exclusively for when you launch a movie or a game. At the end of the day, those viral, minimalist desk setups look amazing in pictures, but a workspace has to be functional, sustainable, and healthy. Your tools should serve your workflow, not force you into a physical retreat or a financial gamble. If you want a luxurious living room cinema experience, buy the TV, sit on the couch, and enjoy it. But if you have to sit at a desk and get actual work done for hours a day, do your body and your bank account a favor. Skip the influencer hype, look past the aesthetic, and invest in a dedicated desktop monitor built for the job. What do you think? Are you currently rocking a TV at your desk, or did this just save you from a very expensive mistake? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, signing off. Take care, everyone.